knows.
Tortinos, everybody's talking about Tortinos, Tortinos, hot pizza rolls, Tortinos, Tortinos, everybody's talking about Tortinos, Tortinos, hot pizza rolls, Tortinos, Tortinos, everybody's talking about Tortinos, Tortinos, hot pizza rolls, Tortinos, Tortinos, everybody's talking about Tortinos, Tortinos, hot pizza rolls.
I was just talking about Totinos, Totinos.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Dope or Nope sad episode. Alright, so it doesn't have to be a sad episode. Really, what this is all about is me personally saying, I'm sorry. I totally did this wrong. I totally did this entire transition of Dope or Nope just completely wrong, and I just wanted to say sorry for that. I got the guys here. I got Pat here. I got Tanner here. I got a big long spiel that I wanted to kind of like just communicate to you guys, the audience, and Tanner, Pat, you guys feel free to chime in at any point where you want to add in things, you want to correct me, you want to convict me.
It's my favorite part.
Easily. But yeah, so basically what I wanted to say was I really should have brought you guys, the audience, in on this process. I realized about a week ago that I made a pretty big mistake with how I handled things, and I don't know, I just wanted to apologize for it. I realized that in my personal relationships, if I just went around and just pulled a rug out from under people, I should expect them to be upset, frustrated, scared, annoyed, and that's pretty much what I did to you guys. I pretty much pulled a rug out, and then I was surprised when everyone was like frustrated or upset or didn't want to go in that particular direction. And I understand that now, I see that now. I didn't see that before, but I kind of wanted to explain to you like what happened so I can give you guys better insight into how we got there and just a better explanation of where we've been this past year with COVID and why we're here now. So back, even before COVID. Here we go.
Just go through the whole journey. Let's do it.
Let's go through the whole journey. I think it's all relevant, and this is why I'm bringing it up. Because back before COVID started, we already had started to transition Michael out of the channel because he really wanted to move to the Rose channel. That was something that he was really wanting. That was something he was pushing for. And Tanner and I were concerned, but we also are not a studio in which we want to stop people from achieving what they want to achieve, right? Obviously, there are other factors at play, but I think we were definitely concerned about what that might mean. And then COVID hit, and it hit hard. As I remember, Tanner, we were just like, okay, what on earth are we gonna do? How are we gonna sustain the business? Dope or Nope had always been at the time the one channel that was sustaining everyone's jobs for the most part, almost everyone's jobs. And I think we had this tremendous amount of responsibilities on our shoulders to like get it right, and even through this entire time. And I remember, Tanner, we were coming over to my place and we were like, let's still record, right? Let's still get this done. Let's still figure this out. And we were concerned from the get-go, especially of Michael transitioning out. Like, here's the thing, we didn't really know what to do. At that time, we were very concerned with all these changes, how it would affect the content, how it would affect the audience, how it would affect our livelihoods, the livelihoods of everyone in the studio. There was a lot writing on it. And I think, like, we really did our best with what we had, and Tanner and I started making videos to flow. And not that there wasn't a lot of work by a lot of other amazing individuals, you know, off camera there was, but it kind of was hinging on us continuing to make content because that's what we do. That's how we pay the bills. And things then really took a turn for the worst, right? COVID really hit hard, and
You know the
we
one
had
thing
to
we
stop
haven't
even
done?
in contact
We
with
never
each other,
had
Tanner.
a
And so then we
1v1 in
started trying to
2K.
do online content, and you know, where we did like 3 or 4 videos before those
You
inevitably
wanna have one?
absolutely bombed. What's interesting, Tanner, is I looked back on those videos today
Bang.
and they actually have a decent amount of views. But if you recall, and I recall, like, do you remember the
You hear me?
They bombed. They absolutely bombed.
And that's like I think that's like the clarifying point to where a lot of our changes even happen from is like, we were, before
Out your
COVID,
bitch ass
I
ankles.
think we were doing really, really well, you know, and then COVID
You
hit,
hear me,
and that
Tatum?
was tricky from our
Yeah, I heard
perspective
you.
compared to like you guys, the
So you
audience's
wanna try one?
perspective, because we're
A
always
1v1?
trying to bring you guys the best
I only play
content,
Myteam, man. I don't play
and
my
something that we
career or
enjoy
anything
too.
like that. I
So
only play
it's
Myteam.
like, yeah, like if you view it from the outside perspective, you go back towards those videos, like, why'd you guys just not film at home? Why'd you guys just do that? Because those have views. But back then, those were getting legit like 70% of the views, which tells us the audience doesn't like it. Like, our subscriber base doesn't enjoy this content, you know?
I think that's a really interesting point to note, because a lot of times people will only look at the comments and they'll be like, all the comments were positive, and they were. But the issue with it is the real data to let you know whether or not you're making content that your audience likes is whether or not they click in, and not the comments. The comments are good. We love the comments, but if half your audience doesn't click in, your audience isn't engaged with the content that you're making. And so we had to stop, and we stopped making content for a while, for like a month, before we were like, okay, we have to do something or people are going to lose their jobs. And and that was, you know, that's always been such a big concern of mine, obviously leading this company and, you know, on this project. Things I wanted to mention here is, and then COVID hit, and it
As bad, but
a lot that you're on shoulder too, on Tanner's shoulder, just one of your shoulders.
just one of them, yeah, just one.
Because I know we've talked about that a lot, and I know we've tried to like diversify in 1,000 different ways, but Dopernope has always been this monolithic thing that's supporting the company, and that's not bad. It's just where we are, you know.
Yeah.
And so we decided to wait to make content, and then wait until we couldn't really wait anymore, and we had to brave ourselves back into the studio. It took us a bit to figure out how to make content in a way that, you know, that worked, that the audience wanted. But I personally don't think like I ever checked in with myself to be like, is this something that I want to make? Is this something that I care about? And for me personally, and Tanner, and you can tell me what you went through here, but for me personally, it was like, it wasn't until like a month or two ago that I started checking in to be like, wait a second, now that the fear is like dissipating from this like toxic fear throughout the world because of this pandemic, I was like, wait a second, do I want to do this?
Yeah, I think it's tricky, and I think it's hard to, where High Five has always been, I mean, we're changing it a lot now, but High Five's been really bad at communicating to that. I would say we just never really have, you know, we always just been like, yo, this is a positive thing, positive stuff, positive things, but in reality, I think, yeah, it was just, that was the most difficult time of High Five, for sure, without a doubt, and I think we didn't communicate the amount of fear towards it. I think, right, like, when you're running a business, right, we have 30 plus employees, especially the time we had before, I think. We have a ton of employees. This is the main thing that's like keeping people afloat, like you said. And you're creating shifts from, okay, what is inspiring us, what do we want to do, to how do we keep this afloat? And I don't think we left that. And I think that's kind of like the biggest change that happened from beginning of this year to like even up to like recently, you know, is until we tried making a change with over. But it was, we were stuck in this continual cycle of how do we stay afloat? How do we get back? Instead of it being what is inspiring us like we've done in the past, you know? So that has a huge effect on the people who are creating it too, right? Like, they see the brand, they see the videos, like, oh, why don't they do this? Or like, why are they doing this now? You know, like, there's a lot of people asking those questions. But I think what it really comes down to is the content is a reflection of us. So we were like embedded with fear, which is for like,
I think, you know, the entire world was.
yeah, right? I just think we tried to mask that. We tried to be like, hey, look at us, we're doing it. You know what I'm saying? And
well, I wouldn't say I intentionally tried to mask it. I would say I wasn't aware of it. And I think that's one of the things, like, even like listening to what you're saying, Tanner, is like, yeah, I do agree that I haven't done a great job of communicating like the depth of emotions at High Five. And I think it's largely sometimes due to the fact that like we don't know until it's afterwards, you you know, self-awareness is kind of like this weird kind of like trailing thing where it's just like, oh, that's what I was, oh, and not like necessarily during the experience of all the fear and emotions. But Pat, I know when we canceled BU too, because that was a great example of like what was happening at the time of like canceling BU because that wasn't going to be making money, that for sure couldn't support that team, and so we were trying to figure out how to diversify and not lose everyone. And then you coming on to Dovernote, yeah, what was that like for you?
It's tough because you go back and forth between, you know, this is a fun job. This isn't like, for a lot of people, this looks like an easy job. You know, it's an easy, fun job, probably the best job you could ever have. And there are times where it is like that, you know, with BU, where it's like, I just get to go to the studio and have fun. But with Dovernote, it's such a different monster because, like you said at the time, it was supporting everyone, you know, and that comes with an extra level of stress. And that's the one thing that people a lot of times don't see is like, hey, you guys, the guys who are watching right now, like, you guys are obviously some of our biggest fans. You'll watch anything we do, but that's just not the nature of the entire platform. Like, we just can't just only support a 30, you know, employee company on 100,000 views of the 100,000 people who are, you know, will watch anything we do, you know? So it comes with a level of stress, and you play in your head, like, I'm trying to support, you know, all my friends here, because I don't want all my friends losing jobs, you know? I'm trying to make sure that everyone is good here, but then you're also trying to make sure that you're not going, you know, crazy stressful or not enjoying your job at all. And that's where Dovernote just is a whole different monster, man. It's nuts.
And so I think to touch on that too is I think that's like a slippery slope. Is like I don't want to create that expectation that like we want this group of people to watch anything. Like if we start making bad content, stop watching. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Like
that's what happens. I don't want either, right? It's important to recognize like, oh, this group of people, this dire group of people watch anything, like that only lasts for so long. So like it's our job to provide value. So I think like that's the other slope too, is it's like we can't just make anything. Like we also want to make things that do engage you and don't just like numb you to like what's going on. Like and that's the thing I think to touch with what Pat's been saying. That's what we've been trying to balance and trying to actually make work. And that's where I think, you know, Matt will go into where we're just not kind of figuring that out.
Yeah, and I think if I could touch on some things too that you guys said, because I know sometimes less aware audience members might assert that, like, well, why don't you just pare down and then just make YouTube videos like everyone else on the platform? Like, A, because that's not what we want to do. Like, our whole goal is to just, like, have a fostering community of creators, you know what I mean? And, like, that's the vision. That's part of the goal, is not to do things alone. And, yeah, we have a lot of overhead, but that's the goal. The goal is to, like, have a ton of people to make better things together. But then the other piece is, you know, while we do talk about money and while we do talk about views, at the end of the day, that only tells us whether or not we're actually achieving our vision of creating content, of creating a community that cares about what we're creating, and we care about what we're creating.
Jesus Christ, man, here we go with Hidden Whites.
To look at it, because we have to make sure that we're providing that value, like Tanner said, to the audience, to my employees, and even to my crew.
It makes no sense how Chris Middleton is outboxing Yao. Yao means literally 7'6".
But also by looking at those factors like views and revenue to be able to continue that. But it's definitely not the goal. It's definitely not the reason why we're there making videos. If that was the reason why, there's a bunch of different ways we could be making a lot more money, which is exactly what I'm assuming a lot of people might surmise, which is pare down and like make more content, which is, yeah, but that's not the goal. The goal is to have this community that creates these amazing things, and we're so much closer to getting there. But I think this also kind of leads into like where we are right here, right now, with even me personally, right? We started changing things, right? So we started changing things in Dovernote, right? We started doing different things like Dope Week and going to stores. And we started trying to change a decent amount to see like how we can invigorate our passion again. And at that time, I've been having so much fun with this Overkill character and Megadeth over on my personal channel, and it gave me so much awareness to really what I was missing on the Dovernote channel, like what I really yearned for with this channel, like a deeper connection to my audience, a deeper connection to what I'm creating so that people enjoyed it even more. I started to love YouTube again, but over in Dovernote, we were still making things that like just really pulled apart my love for making content. At the time, when I started to check in with, okay, am I enjoying what I'm making? And if I'm not enjoying what I'm making, that's probably a huge reason of why I'm disconnected from my community, why we're not all having fun on camera.
Oh my god. Oh. Dude's a goddamn fucking bum.
I didn't feel like we were making things we cared about or that our audience cared about, and I personally overreacted to those fears. Now, to preface this next part, most people, the most common fear response is a phobic fear response, right? The most common fear response when someone's scared is to withdraw, is to run away, is to avoid, is denial, right? That's not how I personally operate, and I think that's why it's like, for some people, it's very hard to understand, like, what the heck is he doing over there? This guy's always in a midlife crisis. But like, if I could explain to you how my brain works, this is something that I think might explain a lot, right? So my natural response to fear is counterphobic. In other words, I attack it, I try to destroy it, I remove it, I engage it, I fight it, and I try to control it. This on the outside is what looks like I'm always in that like midlife crisis, because that's what my fear response looks like. I've been spending a lot of time in prayer, and I feel like God gave me some awareness recently about this whole thing and what this says about my behavioral patterns and how I engage with fear, and that's why I'm here today apologizing to you guys for it, because regardless of phobic, counterphobic, or whatever kind of fear response I had to not making great things, I should have used fear as information and not motivation for change. I should have used it as information to reflect on and then to use to guide me through a much slower process of change. That's something that was a big lesson for me that I took away from this entire scenario, and I was 100% wrong. And I think like that would have been the most appropriate response to fear, right? Not to run and hide from it, but not to attack it and engage it, right? So I'm not saying my fear response was an appropriate one by any measure. I'm just saying it's different, right? For that, I'm really sorry, and I still feel very fortunate to have learned this lesson, to have an audience that spoke up, communicated, that helped me understand that I need to look a little bit deeper inside myself and inside my own behavior. Does that mean I won't ever cancel things in the future? Absolutely not. That's the nature of creative projects. That's the nature of things, is they come to an end. Looking back, is that why I canceled everything in the past? Absolutely not. Like, for instance, Battle Universe wasn't a counterphobic or a phobic response. That was a calculated response to ensure that we could save jobs, right? This overkill transition was definitely a fear response, and I will 100% take ownership for that. But I think it's important to note that we made as many Dope or Nope episodes as there are episodes of Friends. Let that sink in for you for a second.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Right? Almost the exact same amount of episodes as Friends made. We did it in 2.5 years. Friends did it in 9 years, maybe 10. And so that kind of showcases to you how burnout works with a creator. Why often creators need new change, need evolving things. But it's not a surprise why we're looking for something new and exciting. It's not a surprise why we've been burned out. But that being said, it's still not an excuse for not bringing you guys in on the process and having you guys come into this change with us. Pat, you were talking to me earlier about some of this stuff, about like how this kind of change should be like a give and take.
Yeah, it's a two-way street, you know, like this, a lot of times you watch a YouTube video and you think, oh, this is just this person making this thing and I get to watch it. That's just not how we treat High Five Studios. This is something that we haven't done a great job at, but we're trying to do a better job at, is making this a two-way street. If we enjoy making something and you guys hate it, then that's not going to work, and vice versa. If you guys love something and we absolutely despise it, then we're not going to make it, because we're going to get burnt out so fast and the content's not going to be good. This has to be a two-way street, and we're going to get there sooner rather than later. There's a middle ground that we can find that we're going to love making those videos and you guys are going to love watching it. We just haven't found it yet, you know, and that's where you guys are going to help a lot, because we were having a pretty good time, I think, over the last few weeks, and you guys weren't there. And that's fine, because now we hear what you're saying, and that wasn't a two-way street. You were going down a one-way road. And so now we know how to adjust and get back on that two-way street.
So what does that mean? What does that mean? Where are we here? You've watched all the way through this long video, and we haven't even told you what we're going to do. So here's what I think.
It's up to you, man.
I'm opening it up to conversation with Pat and Tana, and I'm opening up to conversation with you guys, the audience, right? What I think is that Dope or Nope doesn't go away. I think we don't remove the beautiful colors that we all love, pink and blue. I think we don't change the channel name, and I think we shouldn't stop Dope or Nope, right? I don't think we should rename the channel. I think there are a lot of comments that suggest, why don't you just make a new channel called Overkill instead of changing this one? And I was reading those comments and I was like, this is why I should have asked people beforehand, because that's a better idea. And so like, honestly, that's probably what I'll do. I can't promise that we'll upload super frequently, but if you're one of the 1% on this channel that like overkill stuff, link in the description. And Tanner,
Alright, that's up to you though.
had an idea that excited you about
It's up to you.
Overkill channel just to mess with the Overkill channel.
Yeah, I might just make like an underkill channel. Just legit prank him. Like, they'll all be like videos under like 3 or 4 minutes, you know? And then it's just me. They're not gonna be edited or at all. It's just gonna be doing stuff that I think will just trigger it. Maybe it'll even be shorter. Maybe it'll do like 30-second videos. Just like, or it'll just look like it's from Cloverfield, you know? Something.
Yeah, but
I still love that character, to be honest. So.
yeah, it's still fun. I'm still gonna love that. People over on my personal channel still love the Overkill character. Obviously, you guys don't, and that's why we're gonna take that away. We're gonna take that away. Overkill actually really overkilled it, so I guess he did his job. But I think like
It's wasn't written, dude. I swear. We didn't plan this change just to have the character.
I mean, literally, Overkill character is an alter ego I have because I have counterphobic responses like that deep inside my head.
It's the deepest YouTube channel of all time.
That's a metaphor.
Yeah, I think, to go back to what we want this channel to be, I think it's important right now to return to a format that you guys love, and with some added changes that will allow us to love it again. I think we still stand by not buying things we intend to throw away, and you guys have also, again, given us some really great ideas down in the comments below of like, when we inevitably do buy things that we don't want, I think it would be a great idea, again, taken directly from a comment, that said, why don't you guys just do a mystery box giveaway at the end of every video with all the stuff you guys want to keep? I love that. I think we should do that at the end of every video. Like, hey, these are the things we're not keeping. It's in a box. We're selling it for 99 cents to whoever gets it first. You know what I mean? I think that's awesome. We don't want to put things into a landfill, and I think that's a win-win. I also think that we still definitely want to do list-based videos. We have a big long list of list-based videos that are classic Dover Note that we actually wanted to continue to do. There's a lot there, but I also think we still want to keep the new part of it, which is buying things together and not pretending to buy it and then opening it up in the same video so that we can like make content faster for you guys.
Well, and just to give some clarity on that too, a lot of you guys don't know like the behind the scenes on how some of our channels work. So for the longest time, I would be buying the products, and neither Matt or Tanner knew what I was buying until the day we were shooting. They would look at it and they would try to react to it. And so you're asking someone to connect to something that they haven't ever connected to before, and it's really, really tough. And I think that's what lost kind of some of the magic with all three of us, because I don't like buying like this concept. I don't like buying Christmas gifts for random people if I don't really know what they want. And that's what it felt like with you two. It's like I don't know if these guys are gonna enjoy. Like, yeah, exactly. And I know you guys probably had the same reaction of like, I wouldn't have really enjoyed this product. I would have chosen something different. And so like that's how it used to work. And with this overkill change, it was really all three of us sitting down and figuring out what we want to do together and looking at these products together and like figuring out what we want in the videos all together, not just one of us or two of us or whatever. And using that like thought process for writing, going back to like the open up stuff content is kind of like I think the push to go.
And I think like the last thing is the old set, we don't even have anymore. But I will say, personally, we shot some videos. I'm not sure if we'll upload it because it's overkill style, but these videos is where Tanner and I sat in those mega chairs, those mega comfy reclining chairs, and we just kind of reviewed some products.